Hey everyone, how's it going today? Coach Alvarez here, back at you another episode, Coffee with Coach. Hope you're up doing well. Got the mind in the right place. If not, as always, let's put it in the right place. So, about to head up to the academy, teach jiu-jitsu class, get some training in. But before I do, I wanted to make sure I get out some more goodies for you, all right? Some more mental vitamins. So, I'm listening to, again, Jocko podcast. For whatever reason, I'll just, like I said, I'll gravitate towards something and I'll keep listening to it until, I get everything that I need to get out of it, all right? So this episode, I don't know, this Dave Burke guy, Top Gun fighter, he's got all kind of accomplishments, accolades, stuff like that as a Top Gun fighter. But him and Jocko are talking, and they're just talking about some really great stuff, man. Like, I just can't get enough of it because the thing about the Jocko podcast is not only do I get a lot of his experiences that he talks about, the stories that he shares and he tells, but the guys that he brings in on his podcast as well, their stories, the things that I get out of their stories. But he reads books, like he'll read pages out of books, and he'll share those, kind of like what I'm doing with you guys. And he'll elaborate, go into it, and then he'll kind of like share his experiences that are very similar to something that happened in the 40s, World War II, whatever, history, war story he's sharing. He'll kind of go into some of his own personal experiences that he had to deal with in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. And this other guy's sharing his. But anyways, not only do they share that stuff, but they share the stuff of, they do jiu-jitsu. So they'll talk about like military experiences, how it relates to life. And then they'll talk about jiu-jitsu and how that relates to life, and how like jiu-jitsu relates to like this battle that they had. And it all just kind of fits together. So, I can relate to a lot of the stuff that they're talking about with this stuff. So it really grabs my attention. So anyways, Dave Burke, USMC Tactics Part 2, Every Moment is Important. All right. So I'm listening to this, and he's talking about, or they are talking about, knowing your terrain. Okay. When you know your terrain, you have the advantage over your enemies, over your opponents. And they're talking about like there's times where you might not have all the resources available to you. You might be, low on ammo, or not have enough guns, or not have enough of this or that or whatever. But if you have, and you know the terrain better than your enemy, and you can get to those positions faster than your enemy, then you have the advantage. Okay. And they're talking about like air, land, sea, like it doesn't matter. You have to know the terrain around you, okay? And what I like what he says is basically you just got to know your environment. You got to know where you're at, okay, at all times. And when you know where you're at all times, because you're familiar with the terrain, because you've been there, you understand your surroundings better than your enemies or your opponents, then you have the advantage. And he says you got to know how you got to know what the advantages are to those in those terrains, and you got to know how it affects your enemies, okay, and how you can take advantage of those things. And he goes, when you know your terrain and all the surroundings around you, it brings you to that next level. And what I like what Jocko says, he goes, if you don't know your terrain, the surrounding areas around you, he goes, you are a baby, like an infant, okay? Like basically like helpless. And he goes on and he talks about like some of the people that he had to deal with. They didn't really take the time to study the terrain and know where they were at. And, they were vulnerable. And I can put that in perspective and relate that to jiu-jitsu, like what I've been talking about lately with some of my students, where they're complaining about having to play off their back versus playing on top. They don't know the terrain on the bottom. They have no bottom game. They don't know where they're at. They don't know where their feet should go, where their hands should go. Should they hip out this way? Should they go forward? Should they go back? they're at a complete disadvantage. So what happens is your mind panics. You freak out. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, literally, Coach KJ told me the other day, like, students were like kicking the top person off of them so that they could stand up. The bottom person can get up versus staying on the bottom and knowing where you're at on the bottom. They're running scared. They're at a disadvantage, and the top person is putting them in positions that they're unfamiliar with, or actually me, because I'm making them play off the bottom, and they don't know where they're at, so they're freaking out. So instead of embracing the fact that they don't know that terrain and saying, like these guys do, copy that, roger that, check, let's get some, using those kind of things, it's like, why do we have to do this? I don't understand what the purpose of this is. How is this productive? Blah, 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 so on and so forth. Okay, so instead of embracing it, they're trying to find an excuse, the excuse matrix, and how to get out of it, right? And they're not going to get out of it. They're going to be forced to learn the terrain on their back, on the mat, until they know all of their surroundings and know how to fight in the position that they're weakest at, okay? So I love this stuff because it's just, it all relates. It all comes together. It all fits. It all makes sense. And when you look at things like that, it's like, yeah, man, why don't I want to know the terrain around me? Okay, if you're coming into jiu-jitsu class, you should have takedowns. You should have guard passing. You should have a guard game. You should have escapes out of all bad positions. If you're avoiding the mount, side control, back mount, half guard, like pick something. Okay, you need to go and do that more so that you understand it. I had a student last night after class like, yeah, coach, I pulled guard 4 times and I just got smashed. Good. Like Jocko says, good. There's good in that. Okay, your ego is the only thing that's hurting. Okay, because you want to win all your rounds more than you want to learn. Let's learn. Let's embrace the fact that you don't really know this thing, and let's get to know it. Let's get familiar with it. Let's get to know the terrain in this bottom position and understand where you can set people up, use different, feints, so to speak, setups, games to trap your opponent and lure them into things thinking that they're doing something that they're really not doing. And then you snatch them up with a nice submission or a sweep or whatever, because you're so familiar with the bottom game or the top game or takedowns or whatever it is that you're weak at. And you now own that terrain and you know the surrounding more than your enemy and your opponents, that you can play games with them because you're just so familiar with it, versus the opposite of that. Like, I don't want to be there. Why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense to me. This is unproductive, and all the other stuff that I've been hearing. They're running scared, okay? That's what they're doing. So if that's you, imagine that. You're on the run. You don't want to be in this position anymore, so you're waving the white flag like someone help me. Someone help me get out of this position. Someone tell coach to stop this stuff because I don't know what I'm doing here. Versus, yeah, I need to learn. I need to put myself here more so I can stop feeling this way. And when you stop feeling that way and you'll get this feeling of empowerment because you're confident. You know where you're at. You know the terrain. You know everything. And a lot of my students that I roll with or see me roll or whatever, they can see me in the worst positions possible. And it's not a face of panic or trying to run. It's the mindset is like, all right, cool. I've been here so many times in the past 20-something years that I've been training jiu-jitsu that I know exactly where I'm at and I know exactly how to get out, and I'm going to get out. It's just a matter of time, matter of minutes or seconds before I put myself in the right position here and start doing the right defenses to work myself out of this really bad position. That is confidence. That is knowing your terrain. That is knowing exactly where you're at, no matter how bad it gets. Like they said, you could be run out of ammo. You could be outgunned, outmanned, what I like about it, this thing's like 2 hours or something long. It could be raining. It could be freezing out. And when it's raining like that, what happens? He goes, most of the guys, they'll put their hood on and they'll go hide somewhere and take cover. Where these guys are trained to be like, it's raining, good, because they're hiding. So that's our opportunity to go in. When they're going in, we're coming out to go and attack. You know, that's our opportunity to attack. So I'll use my bad positions to gain good positions because I know exactly where I'm at, and it's just a matter of time before I get out. So really, really good stuff. Okay, you have, again, two options. One, don't grow. Okay, be stubborn, run, hide, wave the white flag, run from all the things you're scared of. Okay, live in fear of the things that are giving you trouble, or turn around, spend some time there, plant your feet, put your back against the wall, and get in there and understand how to fight out of these positions to the point where when you get there, you're like, cool, I've been here before, no problem. This position sucks that I'm in, but I know how to get out, and I will get out. Okay, that's power. That's a tremendous amount of power when you're grappling with someone, or just life in general, or whatever's happening to you, when an enemy is trying to beat you down, or beat you in some kind of way, and you're just right there fighting back. Like, instead of running, you're there countering their moves, and eventually you'll be the one standing on top. Okay, so good stuff, man, good stuff. So hope you guys are enjoying this stuff as much as I am. If you're not listening to this stuff, the Jocko stuff or whatever else, you really need to make time out of your day to do this stuff, because it all relates to life. It all relates to taking losses, lost loved ones, just lost things, and then how to, make your way back and put yourself in the win column. So that's definitely what I'm trying to do. So anyways, got to head up to the academy, guys. Catch you guys on the next one. Have a great day. We'll see you.